You've got a great brand and you know it deserves attention, but you are struggling when it comes to getting wholesale contracts. You dream of selling your line wholesale and seeing your products in your favorite store, but it's just not happened yet. Today I'll share 3 tips to sell your fashion line wholesale to stores. Make sure you stay until the end because this last one I never hear people talking about, and when I was a buyer for a department store, this was one of the main things that I was looking out for. Hey there, it's Vicky here, aka the Fashion Business Coach, and I love helping brands to scale strategically and increase their profits. Have you ever wondered what the best next move is for your fashion brand? If so, I've got you covered. Take my free quiz. It takes less than 2 minutes to complete, and you'll get customized tips for your stage of business and action steps as well. Head to the link in description to get your results. The first tip to help you sell your fashion line wholesale to stores is to first off understand what actually is the buyer's job, because a lot of people get this wrong. For whatever reason, I blame television, but people seem to have this idea that fashion buyers fly around the world, gathering inspiration, shopping different brands, and that's kind of our job. And yeah, that does happen to a point, but most of the time we are sitting in front of the computer, in front of a spreadsheet, figuring out how to hit our sales targets so we don't lose our job. That's honestly a lot of my experience as a buyer. Buying is a numbers game, and the question that we are asking ourselves on the daily is how can we buy products in and then sell it for more money? Bottom line, that is what we are doing. Yes, there's a fun element to it. There's the going out, getting inspiration, seeing trends, all that good stuff, but it is a very small part of the job description. We are working usually, in many cases, direct with board members. That was certainly the case when I was a buyer, and they expect a return on their investment. They're not just writing me a blank check so I can go out and buy a bunch of fun stuff. My job is to make sure that they get that money back and some. So buying is very much about financial motivation. That's why it's no longer my main job, because that's not how I personally am motivated, but a lot of people are. And when it comes to working with investors, working with people who own their own brand, they need to be figuring out how they are going to get their money back by investing in your products. And that's the main thing that you will have to answer as the brand. So while yes, it is important to show what is unique about you and your brand and your products, that's not going to be the main thing that's on the buyer's mind, because the reality is they'll get pitched to day in, day out with brands who have their own unique perspective and their own great designs. There's got to be something more that sets you apart in order to actually get those contracts. So we need to speak more to the fact of why will your specific products resonate with and encourage people to buy? And when I say people, we're being specific here with the target customer of whatever store it is that you want to sell to. And a really important question to ask ourselves and be able to answer is, what is going to make this current customer of this boutique, this department store, whatever it might be that you're pitching, what is going to make them switch to your brand? Because obviously they're already shopping somewhere. Chances are they're not a nudist. They are in fact buying clothes somewhere already. So what is it about your brand that is going to get that customer to switch who they're shopping with? That is really, really important to understand. So when you're having conversations with a buyer, maybe you meet them at an event, maybe you pitch them, maybe you just connect on social media, whatever it might be. One thing we want to avoid is being that friend who only talks about themselves and then only calls when they need something. We don't want to be like that. And as a buyer, that is the experience that I got from brands most of the time. So if you cannot do that, if you cannot just be talking about yourself and asking for something, aka them to buy you, that is going to get you noticed and get you a really long way. And the majority of the time should really be making that connection between your products and their target customer. Why should they care? That is really, really important. Before you say anything at any time, ask yourselves, why should this person care? Why should this busy fashion buyer who's hearing from hundreds of other people, why should they care about what it is that you've got to say? What is going to make them think, yes, this is a good fit for me? And chances are it's not, I've got a unique design, I've got a high quality design, it's going to be something else. Let's set the scene. So let's say you are pitching a buyer. This buyer, they've had a long day at 7 p.m. They have already worked 2 hours unpaid overtime. Then they reach your email. The reality is they just want to go home. They don't want to read a long monologue about you, your brand, your inspiration, your life story, all the things. Harsh but fair, I'm sorry. So instead, make your points quickly, tie it into why they should care. And FYI, this rule applies for anything that you do on social media as well. Next week, I'll be doing a day in the life of a buyer. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to learn more about this topic and what it's really like being a fashion buyer. The next tip to help you sell your fashion line wholesale to stores is to make sure that your brand is ready to impress. And the great news is by doing this work, it is also going to increase the amount of sales that you make on your website as well. So bonus here. A misconception that I often hear from people who want to sell their line wholesale is that they don't believe that things like a social media presence, being featured on influencers or in PR, they don't believe that that is helpful because they think, oh, well, my strategy is wholesale. I'm just going to be jumping on the back of any press that the wholesale boutique or department store gets. So it's not really relevant to me. And I can see why you went there. I can. But put yourself in the buyer's position. Why would they want to go out and do all of that work, generate all of those collaborations, pay the influencers, get their brand featured, do the social media? Why would they want to do all of those things themselves when they're getting pitched by other brands who have already done it for them? It's obviously going to be a lot more enticing to work with a brand who's prepared to put in the hard yards with the marketing, right? Buyers get pitched so much, they can afford to be picky. So when we're trying to differentiate ourselves from the competition, social media engagement and features really do get you credibility. Think about your own shopping habits. You probably wouldn't buy from a brand online if they had no reviews, no social media presence, and no credibility, right? So why is a buyer going to use that money that, as we already talked about, they are required to turn into more money? Why would they take a risk on that and take a risk on a brand with no credibility when there's plenty of options with credibility? So this is a really key thing that we want to get right. The more you can do to get featured, get seen on influencers, grow an engaged audience, the more that you can do to generally have great reviews and have great credibility, the more enticing an option that is going to be for a buyer. When you have these things, you are seen as less of a risk, both to a wholesale buyer, but also to somebody purchasing on your website. So that is why doing these things is so powerful for both your wholesale chances and for selling on your website too. If you need help with any of these things, they are all covered with step-by-steps inside the fashion marketing course. I'll link to that below this video. The final tip to help you sell your fashion line wholesale to stores is to prepare assets that are going to show the buyer that you're a great fit for their target customer, and bottom line, that you can make them money without saying so. Let me explain. Nobody talks about this. I never see people talking about this, but it is so powerful. I hear people talking about some kinds of assets. You know, I've heard people talking about making a lookbook and a line sheet. And yes, they're great. Definitely do those. If you've not heard of those things, a lookbook is where we have a series of lifestyle images which show the buyer or your customers your products shown in various different situations that your customers can aspire to be in themselves. And the line sheet is where we just have a really basic photo of the product and information like the colors that it's available in, the sizing, pricing, things like that. But no one talks about creating a brand info pack which is results driven and includes results inside. I'm talking sharing things like your sell-through rate, sharing what your best sellers are, sharing your returns rate. These are things that I specifically look out for as a buyer when I worked as a department store buyer, and now when I'm a more low-key buyer buying things in for my own brand. These are the first questions that I have, and if somebody has gone the distance and bothered to tell me the answer to those before I've even asked, that's going to be a big tick and a big step forward to getting into my store. As I've said through this video, there are so many great brands out there and buyers are being pitched to every single day. They're going to have a lot of choice. So you need to find these ways to differentiate yourself, and showing the buyer that you understand what they need from you is going to really help you with that confidence in giving you a contract. Yes, having a unique brand and a unique brand story is going to be really helpful for this for sure, but we need to have that alongside proof essentially that your brand is actually worth its salt. So we don't want to have this great story, these great images, but then actually it doesn't sell, or loads of people are returning your products and it's just not worth the money that you're charging for it. So returns rate is something that a lot of retailers are working on right now. So if you can show them my returns rate is low, that's really going to be impressive, and they're probably going to want some tips on how to do it because a lot of people are struggling with that in 2024. So anything that you can add to this info pack, which is really going to complement the work that you probably were already thinking about doing for your wholesale. So getting your line sheet done, getting your lookbook done. This brand info sheet is really going to be that extra thing that helps you to be seen as more investable, bottom line, because we need to remember that we are an investment. Whether you're hoping to get into a big department store where there's a whole buying team who have been giving yearly budgets and targets and all those things, or whether you're targeting like a single boutique owner who needs to make money off your products in order to feed themselves, either way, there is going to be this pressure of I have to sell this stuff that I'm buying. whatever the situation. So by showing the buyer that you understand that and that your products are very saleable, that people are happy with them, they keep coming back for more. That's why sell-through rate is really important, because what that means is that people are actually buying it and you're able to sell the product ideally at full price, which is always a bonus. So to recap what we need to do to sell our fashion line wholesale into stores, we need to do 3 things. First off, we want to understand that the buyer has targets, financial targets to meet, and they're looking for products that they can basically see a return on investment. So they are looking for products that their customers are going to be really excited to buy. They're going to be looking for brands that are credible, that have taken the steps to make themselves a good investment. Brands who have a social media following that's engaged, that have PR features, influencer features, reviews. Anything else you can add within that kind of that credibility category is fantastic. And finally, that to get brands to invest in you and your products, you need to show that you have as much business savvy as you do great product and great storytelling, which you can do with a product info pack. If you need help with getting your product into stores, I would love to help you with that. I'll put my contact details below and we can chat about the options available for you. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you like and subscribe so that you can catch that video next week, which is a day in the life of a fashion buyer. Thanks for watching. Bye.